Okay, well, welcome everyone. I am going to share my screen. Okay, you seeing my little animal guys? Okay. So welcome. This is our second workshop in this series on empower, embrace, and evolve. So I like to always do a quick recap of, what's leading up. So recap very briefly from our first session, just some definitions. So empower, to give someone the authority or power to do something. Embrace, to accept or support willingly and enthusiastically. And evolve, to develop gradually, especially moving from something simple to something more complex. And I asked this before, and I'm going to ask again. Don't say your answer out loud, but think about how you would rate your own club on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of these areas. So think of your club as a whole, each and every member. Is every single member empowered to make, I'm showing the notes too. That's fine. Is every single member empowered to make decisions or take action? Or do you accept and support each member willingly and enthusiastically? Or do you see your willingness to accept every club member and be open to their ideas growing? So my goal again in this series is for each of you to be honest about where you stand personally and as a club, and for you to learn how to improve in all of these areas. And always when I say you, I mean myself as well. So we're all capable of evolving beyond clicks, power in the hands of a few, sidelining certain members' suggestions, and learning to identify what's not visible to us. So it's about making sure that we're welcoming an accepting group of Seroptimists, and that we're harnessing the power of all members working together rather than working against each other. So just like this group of animals in the picture, we're all unique human beings, and we all bring something different to the table. So how do I share this without showing my notes? Does anyone know?
Do you have more
Are
than
you
one
using?
screen?
Because
What
I
are you
have
using?
like my PowerPoints up on 3 different screens at the same time looking at me, and one has notes and 2 don't.
Is this Canva? Is this PowerPoint?
It's PowerPoint.
Oh, just hide presenter view. There you go.
Does that work?
That should, not yet. There it goes. Now go down to your slideshow or current slide. There you go.
Yeah, is that working?
It will in a second. Down at the bottom, there's a tool that is a little slideshow icon on the
Go over a
bottom
little.
right. Yeah.
There you go. That one.
That one.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's not, like I said, I have it working on
Frozen.
2 screens and not the other one. And I think the one I'm showing is the one of the 3 that's not the right one.
Are you?
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Might
Yeah,
be
I had
frozen.
that earlier today. I had to
Go to
share
the,
the, I
yeah, go
had
to
to
the,
share one of the full screens.
Chris, would it be under display settings?
it shouldn't,
Hmm.
You know what? It's okay. You guys can see what's
yeah,
coming. You get a little
yeah, it's
preview of
fine.
what's coming, but don't
It's
cheat.
fine.
The notes aren't there
Come
anymore,
The notes
on.
aren't there. I'm just gonna click to here. How about that?
There you go.
Okay. So tonight's workshop is going to focus on how we can deepen our belonging within Seroptimists by understanding implicit bias and microaggressions. Has anyone heard these phrases before? I'm sure you have. These concepts aren't about blame, they're about awareness, accountability, and our own personal growth. So we each play a part in shaping the culture where women and girls feel valued and heard. So here's what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to define these concepts, implicit bias and microaggressions, in some simple terms. We're going to look at real examples from our own Sir Optimus meetings, and we're going to practice some tools that you can use. Okay. So to begin, we're going to start with some ground rules. So this is a picture of a little girl being brave. So we're going to be talking about brave conversations. So some of the things when we start talking about our own personal bias and how we make conclusions on things, we all have it. It's just learning to manage it. Some things that will help us to be safe in our conversations with each other, right? So we want to listen to understand, not to think about what we're going to say in response. We want to assume positive intent. So assume the discussion we're having that we all mean well. We might make mistakes in what we say and how we communicate with each other, but let's assume that we all mean well. We should speak about our own experience, not someone else's experience. And we should stay curious and not defensive. And we'll talk more about this thought of getting defensive in a little bit. So these guidelines will help make this a space for learning, not a place for judgment. Our goal is not to be perfect, just to stay open and reflective. So let's move into implicit bias. What is it? It can be defined as attitudes or stereotypes that affect our actions and decisions. So implicit bias is like the autopilot of our minds and our brains. So we all have shortcuts that help us make quick decisions, quick judgments. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. But sometimes our initial thoughts or shortcuts can misfire. So our key isn't necessarily to eliminate bias, it's to recognize it before it shapes our choices. So if we're conscious about what our own biases are, that when we find ourselves in situations where those are surfacing, we can cut it off, not say the first thing that comes to your mind, and really think about what we're saying. So we're going to do a little exercise. And I would like each of you take a look at these women instinctively. Do not overthink it. And pick one that you would choose to lead a new project for your club. And I give you a second to pick, and then we're going to talk about who you picked and why. So who wants to go first and share? Which of these women did you pick to lead a project in your club?
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, so I picked the one on the bottom lower corner on my right. The blonde.
Blonde. Okay.
Yeah,
And why did
I
you
picked
pick
her.
blonde?
I liked her I liked her smile.
Okay.
She looks confident, and she looks like somebody that I would trust to lead me.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Wrong answers here, by the way. Anyone else?
I'll go.
Okay.
I picked Miss Throwback top right because of the free spirit, free meaning. To me, that would mean free thinking, different ideas, different values, different views, which could bring spark energy, etc.
Okay.
And yeah, she could lead me. I'd follow.
Kelly?
I picked the same one as Donna. I thought she just looked enthusiastic and ready to have a little bit of fun and confident. I think
Okay.
it's the smile.
Okay. Anyone else? You want to pick someone different?
This is Carla. I picked the top in the middle. She looks like project manager to me. Or an accountant. I don't know.
That's right.
She's who I picked as well.
I the same one I picked too.
Okay. So
He was my second, but I like the other chick too. Yeah. Either way, talk.
Okay.
Yeah, and it depends, for me, it depended on what kind of project, because I was kind of going with Chris's choice as well. If we were doing something super creative or different in the community.
Okay.
And I like the one in the middle top because I also would like to have different kinds of representation in my club.
Okay.
I picked the bottom left, and I think it's because of my bias, because she's the medical profession, and that's where I come from. And I think also, well, I picked it because of her smile, and she seems to be kind of leaning in the picture, like she's open, leaning in. Um, to me, it looks like she's listening
Okay.
and welcoming.
Okay. Anyone else? Is there anyone you wouldn't pick? Okay, again, there are no wrong answers here, and this isn't about
I probably would have a hard time picking the redhead, mostly because she's looking at her phone. I think it's because the job I do, I need the person to converse with me, and a lot of times that's what they're doing. They're just looking at their phone, and that they're not listening.
Okay. Fair enough. Just to say again, there's no guilt here. We're just noticing patterns. So things like, what is influencing your choice? Someone's smile, someone's posture, someone's dress. So we're forming a lot of opinions on a picture, right? We don't know any of these women. We don't even know if they're real. They could be AI for all we know. But think about, when you're in a group and, what if the redhead is in your club and raises her hand and says, I want to lead? So this is what implicit bias is, right? We're forming an opinion saying, well, she stares at her phone all day. Well, we don't know that. She's staring, and I'm not criticizing you at all, Donna. In this picture, she's looking at her phone, but you could catch any of us looking at our phone at any given point in time, right? Or we make a decision based on someone who appears to be a physician anyway, which we sometimes will generally associate with they're smart, they're educated, we also could negatively say she's probably too busy. She seems like she might have a really demanding job. And you could say that about other professions as well. So and this is just a really simple exercise to say, it's very easy for us to form opinions based on someone's appearance. And it could be appearance meaning your dress, your smile, your profession, your age, how put together you look. And we can easily make decisions about those. And we could be totally wrong. Like we have to recognize that, the smartest, most capable leader on this page might be the one that no one picked. We just don't know is the bottom line. So, implicit bias is really making judgments without a full set of information, right? So let's go on to what is a microaggression. So a microaggression, it's an everyday slight or comment that communicates bias. So a microaggression, a small moment that sends a subtle message about who does or doesn't belong. The thing with microaggressions that they very often sound like compliments. And they might sound like compliments to us as we say them, but to someone receiving the message, they can often land as exclusionary or stereotypes or other kind of negative connotations. Okay, so we're going to spend some time looking at some different microaggressions that could make their way into our clubs. So I'm going to ask you, we're going to go through each of these. I'm going to ask you what you think about it and why you think it might be considered a microaggression. So the first one we'll start with, this is a pretty common one. We say, "You're so articulate." Any thoughts about what could be wrong with that and why that's a microaggression?
It could be another way of saying you're talking too much and you're dominating the conversation.
Okay.
Could be.
It could be. Anyone else?
Could it mean maybe you're a little too stuffy, or you think you know too much? I mean, I'm not saying that's it, but somebody could think that.
It could be. I mean, I think if you think like, what's the opposite? You're not articulate, right? So, this is a common thing where, so if I say you're so articulate, then it comes across like that's a shock. I didn't expect you to be articulate, right? So you don't go around generally to saying, you might say, "Great presentation," or "You look nice today," or something, but you don't generally go around and say, "Wow, you're super articulate." So when we do that, most likely it's because it's not something we expected. And we make those decisions about people based on, it could be race, it could be ethnicity, it could be age, it could be any number of things, where we would assume that they're not going to be articulate or well-spoken. And then when they are, we're surprised by it. So this, of course, reads, I think, generally it reads like a compliment. I mean, I'd be okay if, someone complimented me for being articulate. But to a receiver, what it could come across is, why is that a surprise to you? Why are you pointing out this thing about me? I will assume it's because you're surprised that I'm articulate. Does that make sense in kind of how that presents as a microaggression? Some people get this and some people don't. Like I was trying to explain this actually to a fellow governor at a conference about why this was problematic, and she just really couldn't comprehend why it was a problem. But let's go to the next one. "You don't look like a president." What could possibly be wrong with that statement?
Do
Like a
presidents have
lot of
looks?
things. Yeah.
What does a president look like then? I would be immediately insulted by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, it implies that there's a certain look to a president, right? Whatever that is. Like if we think about in our clubs, what does that look like? Is it someone that's not 20 years old? Is it someone that is older? Is it someone that's dressed really nicely? And we can go back to the photos of the women. Like, what does a president look like? So the problem with this as a statement is it implies that there is a certain expectation of what a president would look like. And it could be more than one thing. But to say that to someone would be implying you don't fit that type that's in my head of what a president should look like. So yeah, so Selva, you said you would be insulted by this comment, and that makes sense. Let's go to the next one. "She's too young to chair that committee." Why would that be problematic?
You're assuming they are not educated enough, or I would say you don't maybe have enough experience potentially. But again, that's an assumption. You don't know what they've done in the past.
Yeah, so you're concluding about someone's ability to do something simply based on age, nothing about competency or skill or talent or education. And so to say you're too young, or you could conversely say you're too old. I mean, it could read multiple ways, but the youth thing kind of implies, well, you're saying just simply because of my age, I don't have the ability to do this. So that's pretty discriminatory when we think about it. You're smart for a girl. What does that imply?
Everything that we don't stand. I mean, oh, that's terrible.
Okay, I really believe none of us would ever say this, but
No.
it's probably been said to you, it's been said to me when I was growing up. Yeah, so I mean, just like the others, that implies that girls aren't as smart as boys. And so you, again, to the presenter, you're actually complimenting someone saying you're smart, but then you're putting this little disclaimer on it. Well, you're smart for a girl. So that definitely doesn't read as a compliment. And it could be intended as a compliment, but it definitely doesn't come across that way. Okay, your English is so good. Why would that be a problem?
Oh my gosh, so I have a problem with this one because I have said that before, and definitely as a compliment to encourage. But I could see where maybe somebody might, if they could be offended by it.
I think of all of them, that one hits me as the most, I'm going to say situational, just because if you say it like you're surprised, if you don't know the person, you say it surprised. Like I've said it to my daughter-in-law who's Russian. Her English is really good. That's a compliment. Oh my gosh, she worked so hard on that. But if you don't know the person and you're basing it just on their ethnicity, then that's a problem.
Yeah, so totally agree. I do find this one to be situational. But by saying this to someone who maybe has a heavy accent or is from another country, you're immediately pointing out that they're different, right? You're singling them out with what comes across as a compliment, but you're singling them out by reminding them, if nothing else, that you're different. You're a foreigner, you're an outsider, you are different than me or different than someone else. And you're right, within the right context and someone you know well, there are probably other ways to say it, but just cold like this, again, makes it sound like, A, it's a surprise. Didn't expect your English to be so good. Well, why? Because what are we basing that on? And two, it's just, we want to look for ways to minimize making someone feel different. It's okay to feel different, but what we're looking for is this sense of belonging. So we don't want someone to not feel like they belong simply because English isn't their first language, right? Okay, last one. How can you afford that?
What makes anyone think that they know what I can and can't afford? It's making an assumption about my finances that they have no idea about. And to me, it's making a negative association that I overspend. And how do they know? It's really kind of none of their business. Why? No.
It's also kind of making a judgment on where they choose to spend their money.
Right.
Yeah, it's all those things. And again, it's also, I think you could also interpret it as, it depends on the context and the delivery, but you could interpret it as, well, I can afford it, but how can you? Like, I somehow magically know that I make more money than you. And again, so it's a comment that could make someone feel singled out because it makes them feel like you believe that they have less than someone else, whether it's you or not. I worked with someone once that was really bad about this, and annoyed people to no end because you just don't know. And it's not even relevant what people choose to spend their money on, right? But we do this, maybe not as outwardly of a statement like this, but we do make judgments about how people spend their money, whether we want to believe we do that or not. And we may never say it out loud, but it's really easy to sometimes question people's choices, and we just don't really know, and it is really none of our business, to your point. Okay, let's move on. Our intentions, like I said, might be kind. We might think we're making a compliment, but the other person's experience is what the impact is. So a key skill for us as leaders is to take responsibility for the impact and not the intent, even if our intent was positive. If I said one of those 6 things to someone totally well-meaning, but I was off base and the impact to that person was hurtful, or made them angry or anything else, then I have to take responsibility for that. So what's a common mistake when we realize that the impact on someone is different from our intent? It's the most common mistake we can make.
To dismiss their feelings about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
say, oh, that wasn't my intent, and just, that's okay. Well, it's not. You have to recognize the impact.
Yeah, exactly. We get defensive because we know what we meant. So we will get caught up in defending ourselves because we knew we didn't mean to hurt you at all. Our statement was intended to be nothing but absolutely kind and supportive. And it's really easy to fall in that trap of being defensive because you know your heart, right? You know what you meant to say, and you know it wasn't negative. And then when you find out that someone received it that way, it's really easy to think, no, that's not what I meant at all. Like that would be really easy to say. But when we do that, we're focusing on ourselves and what we meant. We're not focusing on the other person. So the number one thing that we should do when we find out that our words have impacted someone in a way that's different than our intent is simply to apologize. Like we all have to learn as we go. So I get things pointed out to me all the time, like some of these things even, until you recognize it or hear the other person's perspective on why something is hurtful, you don't know it's hurtful. So all you can do is learn, apologize, seek to understand, and learn from our mistakes. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go into a breakout room. I was going to do 3, but I think I'm going to do 2 because of how many people we have. And I'm going to ask you in just 2 groups I'm going to give you each a scenario. And in your group, with your scenario, I want you to think about these things. 1, what bias or microaggression might be present? What is the possible impact? And what is the most constructive response that you can have when you find out what the impact is? Okay, so your scenarios are going to be this. In room 1, and I hope this works. If not, we'll do it all together. In room 1, the scenario is this: a longtime member's idea is prioritized over a new member's very similar idea. And I'll repeat these once you know what room you're going to. And then in room 2, a younger member's suggestion is dismissed as too idealistic. So let me put you in some rooms. Let's see how many people we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay.
Oh, we solved it all, Judy. Just
Good. Can't wait to hear about it.
not really.
We've been out there in space.
Get everybody back. We lost to Megan.
Megan.
Uh-oh. Maybe because
It'll
they're
send-
driving.
Yeah. It'll probably send her back.
There she is.
Yay, Megan made it.
Okay, so let's hear from each group. So anyone from room 1 want to share? So your scenario was a long time member's ideas prioritized over a new member's very similar idea. Anybody from room 1?
You mean what we discussed?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, we discussed a lot of things. I think we were all, the good thing is I think we were all on the same page. So that part was good. But we kind of referred back to some of the things you had, presented before, listen to understand and stay curious, not defensive and that type of thing. And what I said is, maybe they had the same idea, but they were coming from maybe just a little bit of a different angle.
Okay, anyone else from that group?
Recognizing that we didn't want to dismiss the newer members because we want to make sure that they feel heard, and even for us to be more curious about, well, what's your idea? Can you expand on it a little bit? Whether we're the leader of the group or we're a member sitting near them, and we hear what they say, and so it's like trying to draw them out a little bit more and make sure that they feel heard.
Okay. Yeah, can you imagine being that newer member and having an idea that's just completely dismissed?
I know.
Yeah,
I was that newer member.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think we've probably all seen it or been there
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yep.
I've been there, and yeah, it doesn't feel good. And that's about as opposite of inclusive as we can be, right? Is just to shut someone down. Now, we may not always fully run with every idea that comes out, right? But we owe it consideration and discussion, and not just immediately dismissing ideas as stupid or most likely not feasible. Like, I don't think we're likely to say, well, that's stupid, the way I've heard it said. It's more like,
said to me.
it's more like,
Well,
that won't work, or, something like that.
Okay.
that was I was going to say that was one of Chris's first statements, is exactly that, was, that person's never going to offer a suggestion ever again.
Exactly. And you could be cutting off some really great ideas for the future. How about the second room? A younger member's suggestion is dismissed as too idealistic.
I think we were in that almost along that same thread, because if it's too idealistic and you bring up their age, you're too young for that, it's going to shut them down. And I think it came into the realm of what do we say, you guys? Oh, that's been done before, kind of the same idea. Well, then I'm not going to have any more ideas. And if I'm shut down just because I'm too young, I'm going to go find a group of ladies that are quote unquote my age that don't think I'm too young to have something intelligent to say.
Yeah. And we've seen this, right? Like, I'm not going to name any names because I can't. It's just see it. We feel it. Like, we'll sit here and say, in order for Seroptimus to survive and strive and continue to grow and meet the big goal, that we need to bring in younger, newer members because we're getting old, right? But then they come in.
And speak for yourself.
And then we get new members and of course, when I say we, I'm not talking about the 13 of us. It could be us, but
It would never be us.
collectively, right? Because you're here. Yeah, I mean, why would they stay? Why would they want to be part of our organization that immediately tells them that can't happen? I mean, okay, I'm kind of idealistic myself. I always come up with bigger plans than I can actually execute, but there's nothing worse than being told, well, that will never work. It makes me want to make it work all that much more, right? To prove somebody wrong. But we need to give the time and the space to our younger or newer members to participate. And I think very often we do fall in that trap, Kelly, of saying, well, we tried that before and it didn't work.
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
we don't have enough people. We don't have enough resources. There's too short of a lead time. Like those are all might be valid at some level, but to simply say, that's too idealistic, it can never work. I mean, what's the harm that can come from trying something new? It might not work. And then we don't do it again, or we improve it or something. So again, we're looking for ways to be inclusive. And it means not making assumptions about other members or potential members just based on their age or any other identity we could attribute to them based on something that we don't even know. Now, someone having a track record of throwing out ideas and never following through, that's different. That's a different amount of information that you have than just dismissing someone because of their age or appearance or something else.
One of the things that is that if you do this, you miss your opportunity to potentially learn from them, because we all know that generally the younger members have a lot of tech skills that I know I don't have. And so if you automatically dismiss it because of you think it's idealistic, maybe it's not idealistic at all. Maybe it's just you don't have the knowledge base that they have. And if you shut it down, you don't give yourself the opportunity to learn.
Good point.
Yeah. How many on this call who works with either kids or young adults? Chris does, Kelly, Janice, Dawn, okay.
Did
Julie,
past tense.
yeah, but I'm not a teacher by profession, but I've taught Sunday school and I've worked with kids a lot, and they always surprise me. Chris, I know you're working with a population of women, and it's kind of the age group we're talking about right now, like potential younger members. Like they know so much more than we give them credit for, right?
Mhm.
I would hate to think that we're not willing to hear from someone just because of their age. So yeah, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. What are you seeing now?
The slideshow.
Animals.
The animals? Okay, so we went back to the
beginning.
Let's see if I can. My screens are all screwy. Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I'm at work and I'm usually at home when I do this, and so it's just a little bit different. Let's try this. You see in the tree?
Nope.
No?
There it is.
You're still seeing the tree?
Yeah, we have
Yes.
We
three.
see it.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna go to here.
The
So
best apology.
we all make mistakes, right? We all say things that we instantly regret, sometimes, and then sometimes we may say things that we don't even know we should regret until we find out later. But what matters most when we make mistakes or say the wrong thing is how we handle the situation. So I mentioned earlier, a simple, genuine apology and a commitment to do better can go a long way in repairing trust. To say, I think that follow-up, one, to acknowledge, I really didn't mean to offend you. The best thing we can do is we can have our own internal dialogue about, but I meant well, but don't say that out loud. It's okay. I've found in situations where I've maybe said the wrong thing, people are really willing to educate you on why something was offensive if you don't immediately recognize it. I find that there's a lot of grace and patience in this arena around microaggressions because people generally do want us to, again, us generic collectively, to do better. And the only way we can do that is if we learn what we did wrong. So we should acknowledge always the impact of our words and actions, apologize sincerely, and learn and adjust, and try not to repeat those mistakes or statements. So let's talk a little bit more about building an inclusive club culture. Here are some things that you can look out for in your meetings or events. Notice who speaks and who doesn't. Is someone dominating a conversation? Is someone who never speaks, is it because they don't have the opportunity or because they don't really have anything to say? Or is it because they weren't invited to speak, maybe? So just take notice of who speaks and who doesn't. Something else you can do is rotate leadership opportunities, right? So I know this is a difficult one. I know many of our clubs have members that always chair an event and they have it down to a science. And somebody else may want to participate and it's kind of, no, this is my event. Like I know for sure that this happens. But when we get so possessive of our activities as a club, as individuals, then we are, by definition, excluding other people from participating or taking on a leadership opportunity. So just be mindful of ways that we can kind of share responsibility to make sure that everyone has a chance to be included. We should definitely try to celebrate our diverse experiences. I mean, there's nothing better than learning from other members of our clubs about their backgrounds and about the things that they bring to the table that we don't know about. We'll often find secret surprises and skills and talents that members have that we may not know if we don't give them a chance to talk about it. And then finally, we ask for feedback and listen. I think if you go back to the first one, notice who speaks and who doesn't. We don't want to force someone to speak if they're really shy and don't have anything to say. But, working with a really shy member that doesn't speak up is also important, to find a way to make sure that they do feel included. And maybe they're more comfortable in a small setting with a smaller group of people, maybe on a committee, they're more likely to speak out. But we need to make sure we're providing those opportunities. So inclusion gets better and it grows through very small and consistent actions. You can't just go into a club meeting and say, well, we're inclusive now. You're going to be inclusive based on how you act and what you say, and that gets demonstrated over time. How we invite people to speak or participate, how we listen, and how we share the space that we're in to make it comfortable for everyone are all things that can go a long way toward building a more inclusive club environment. Remember, belonging is built one interaction at a time. If you have a new member, you can't expect them to suddenly blossom and develop these great relationships with every other member of your club. Now, occasionally you'll have someone that's really good at that, but generally it's going to be one relationship at a time. So when we're looking for people that potentially are sidelined for whatever reason, it's important that we identify that and find a way to bring them in and include them. And it may be just a simple conversation to say, how would you like to be included? Or what would you like to participate in? And then our final thought for tonight is, again, just a moment for personal reflection. So I would like to ask you, just take a few seconds, a minute, whatever, just to write down for yourself, and you don't have to say this out loud, but if you want to share it, you can. What is one action that I will take to strengthen belonging and inclusion in my club? What is one action I can take to strengthen belonging and inclusion in my club? It could be something small, but make sure it's specific. So come back to this. Awareness plus action equals belonging. So this discussion tonight is really about awareness, very much about being conscious about being inclusive, being conscious about examining our own implicit bias, how we might assume things about someone based on appearance, things we say that we think are well-intended that can have a negative impact. All of this is about awareness. And then we move into action when we start taking some of these steps to try to make sure that our members feel like they have a voice and a place in our clubs. And then we get to this sense of belonging that I think we're all aiming for. So thank you for kind of being part of this conversation tonight. Every time that we show humility and encourage around personal topics like this, we make ourselves stronger, we make our clubs stronger, we make Seroptimist as a whole stronger. The inclusion, don't think of inclusion as an added benefit. It is really the foundation of our mission. If our mission is to help women and girls who are struggling, how bad does it look if we're in our clubs fighting with each other, excluding people? We want all women and girls to feel included. We've talked a little bit about communication tonight, but our next workshop is going to focus very much on what inclusive communication looks like. We'll go into that in more depth. Any final comments or thoughts from anyone before we end tonight?
This is Beth. Something that I like to try to do is sit with different people or in different areas in my club. And that helps just mix things up and get to know different people and yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's great. That's
yeah.
great. And we can all do that. You know, if we call ourselves leaders, we should be very mindful of that, kind of mixing things up. Thank you.
I had a conversation with, I was met with Carol Tyrell tonight. We all know Carol Tyrell. She's amazing. And our membership committee has split up the list because we have an awful lot of new members this year and a lot of members who maybe haven't been to a few meetings. So we've created this phone tree between me and Carol and one other member, and we're actually checking in with them over the weekend, being like, hey, the holidays are coming up. You know, how are you feeling? Is Seroptimist filling you up? Is it, you know, just basically a check-in because we don't have a mentor system up here. We don't, when we bring on a new member, we're so far apart geographically that it's hard to have a mentorship. We're still working on that. But we've decided we need to reach out in some way. So Carol was actually, well, let's call them. You take this list and I'll take this list.
That's great.
I just do what she says, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah. And that's not hard, right? I mean,
No.
you know, not everyone likes talking on the phone, but I mean, a phone call from someone you know is a lot different than most of the phone calls I get, which are from people I've never heard of. You know, it's nice. It's nice to get a phone call every once in a while. Yeah.
It makes people feel valued, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, and Kelly, to your point, because this has just come up in another club that just added a whole lot of new members, and they're like, help, like how do we, when you have a lot of new members at once, I think it presents a different kind of challenge to get to know them and to find the best fit and what they really are interested in doing and how they want to serve. And yeah, it can definitely be a challenge. When you have one new member, it's maybe not as hard. But when you have a whole bunch at once and you have to all of a sudden integrate them into the activities and events that you've been doing for years, I think that's a great time to like just harness some new ideas. Like you take advantage of kind of that instant growth that you've worked hard to achieve and see what comes of it.
Right. I'd love to hear from other people. I'm excited about the next phone call because I don't want to lose these new members to like being part of the masses. Like they need to
Exactly.
know that they're special. They need to know that they have something to give to Sir Optimist. And I'm not positive how to convey that. I mean, we're working on a Sir Optimist 101 event, but I need something more personal. So I can't wait to hear what you guys are doing.
Well, I'll loop you in on that conversation. I just brought Charlotte into it as our membership chair, because it would be good to kind of have a strategy,
Yes, please.
for, when we're adding more than one person at a time or even two.
I know,
'Cause-
like, oh, poor us. We have a lot of new members.
I know. I'm like, I wish I had that problem.
Donna, wait
So
till
do
you
I.
meet. I just came from a potential new member meeting, and we signed her up. She's going to be inducted in January.
Yay.
Yeah, so
Aw.
I know she's lovely, and she wasn't sure that she had enough time that she could give, and we had a great conversation. So she's excited. I can't wait for you to meet her.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
One of the things
That's,
that
oh, go
I
ahead, Ruth.
one of the things that I recently did with in conjunction with the membership committee was I reached out to, well, you guys all know Nancy Lilly. She's the chair for the membership committee in Oakdale. And I reached out to her and I asked her for a list of names that she knows of, that people that are considering being members but haven't yet come on board, or they're not coming on board for a little while, because I need judges for Live Your Dream
Oh,
Committee.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So she provided me with a list of names, and it's like two birds with one stone. I'm getting,
Good
I'm
point.
getting something that I need, and they're getting a little introduction prior to actually.
Yeah.
So
It's a great introduction to what we do. So yeah.
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 So yeah, and so we have two people who are going to be judges for Live Your Dreams, that are potential new members, and then we have one that's very seasoned, that has done it before. So it's
That's great.
Go get 'em,
for
Ruth.
everybody. Yeah. And I actually had a orientation meeting with them tonight, and they're all jazzed.
Oh, good. That's exciting.
Great.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah, that's a fun way to get people involved for sure.
Mhm.
All righty. Well, I will let you go. Thank you again, and I will see you all soon.
Bye,
Thank you.
ladies.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thank you, Judy.